The 2019 European Le Mans Series makes a visit to Italy this weekend, to one of the most historic racing circuits in the land, and the Monza International Track, the Monza Any circuit to give it its official title. This is round 2, a 4-hour event arranged for tomorrow. Currently 18 degrees Celsius, slightly warmer track temperature, but 73% humidity, and the threat of some rain maybe later on today, maybe to interrupt one or more of the qualifying sessions we're about to watch. So welcome on board, everybody. My name's Johnny Palmer, Graham Goodwin to my right at dailysportscar.com. We have 10 minutes then of GTE qualifying to kick off this three-pronged qualifying session. Just after 1:30 here in the northern part of Italy. We're 10 miles north of Milan, and there are due to be 8 GTE cars heading out onto track, but also something we have to factor in for the first time in the history of the European Le Mans Series is success ballast, and this based on not only championship positions of the cars in GTE, but also on previous race results. Graham Goodwin.
Absolutely right. It is 8 rather than 9. We'll explain that as time goes on. We're missing one car from the overall entry here, but still a nice mix between the Ferraris, local heroes of course, and 3 of the Porsches. The number 88 Proton competition car will not be starting this session, but as you quite rightly say, Johnny, one change for the GTE class this weekend and for this season is going to be the introduction of that success ballast, and it comes in 3 different tranches, and beautifully explained by the way on the LMS website.
Okay.
Table A, result for the previous race: 15 kilos for the winning car, 10 kilos for second place, 5 kilos for third. Table B.
Those cars were 51 Lucix
Yep.
Racing, 83 Kessel Racing, and 77 Dempsey Proton Racing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Table B we don't have to worry about because that's the previous race, if you see what I mean. It's the race preceding the previous event. Table C is the current championship positions: 15 kilos for the championship leaders, 10 for second place, in championship 5 kilos for third. It's pretty simple with just the one result. That means the number 51 Lucix Racing Ferrari, which won, of course, at Le Castellet, will receive 30 kilos of success ballast. For
2 lots of 15.
Correct. Number 83 Kessel Racing car will have 20 kilos. That's 2 lots of 10. Number 77 Dempsey Proton Racing Porsche will have 10 kilos, 5 plus 5 for this weekend. That is going to get a little more complex as the season goes on.
I think you're right.
But for now, that's the way it is, and that's well, let's wait and see how this one pans out. New
Indeed.
look, by the way, for the number 77. This is the Dempsey Proton Racing entered car from Proton competition. We explained before why it's a Dempsey Proton car. This is on the back of the win at the Le Mans 24 Hours last year, which gives them an automatic entry to the Le Mans 24 Hours for this year, but only if they enter a car under the same licence in a full season. They've already got 2 cars in the WC, so they've switched one of the Proton competition entries to Dempsey Proton Racing here. That gives them that opportunity. So that car with a very neat and tidy new look livery. We won't, as I say, see the sister car. 2 Kessel Racing cars there. The 83 car finished second. Last time out, really impressive run for the all-female crew in the 83 car. And wasn't it great to see Michel Mouton giving the trophies for this squad? Rahel Fry, Michel Gatting, Manuel Agostina, and well, this is here to prove some points, and boy did they do it last time.
Yeah, Cathy Muller was in the garage at Ricard as well, and Michel Mouton, is she the chairperson of Women in Motorsport or something similar to that?
The FIA Women in Motorsport Commission, that's right. And a legend, Michel Mouton. Well, I have to say, one of my racing heroes, my motorsport heroes. It was great to actually spend just a little bit of time and hear a little bit about this initiative from her. I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about it. Green flag is shown. It's 10 minutes with these 8 cars on track, Johnny Palmer.
Yes, 9 of them at Ricard, so as Graham has mentioned, minus the 88. It was a result, a wonderful result for Lucix Racing a month ago, actually winning by a lap. Now that was judged on where the overall leader finished around the lap, but nevertheless the places were locked in for Alessandro Pierguidi, his teammate Nicholas Nielsen, and perhaps the star of the 3 of them, Fabien Laverne, who did the opening first few stints and just opened up a gap of, was it like 40 seconds? It was
astonishing.
It was a huge margin that he then was able to hand over to silver driver Nicholas Nielsen, and And Alessandro Pierguidi, one of the easiest stints he's ever done in his life, just to nurse the gap, and didn't really need to put in too much effort. So they finished ahead of the Manuel Agostner, Rahel Frey, Michel Gatting, Kessel Racing Ferrari, and Christian Ried, Riccardo Pera, Matteo Cairoli finishing in third, ahead of the JMW Motorsport Ferrari. Not such a good result for Ebi Motors. They'll be looking to improve on home ground this weekend. And Project One with a bit of a shocker in the end, although Egidio Perfetti was up there in the early stages of the race. Jörg Bergmeister, I noticed, was one of the fastest GT drivers in pre-practice one yesterday, so 56 could be one to watch in this session too.
All 8 cars are out on track at the moment. In the cars, 51 is in the hands of reigning world champion Alessandro Pierguidi. The Spirit of Race 55 car in the hands of Matt Griffin. Matteo Grifoni, of course, here this weekend in Italy. Jörg Bergmeister, as Johnny just mentioned, is in the 56 Team Project One Porsche. In the number 60 Kessel Racing car, Andrea Piccini. Jeff Siegel is aboard the JMW Motorsport number 66 Ferrari. The 77 car is in the hands of Matteo Cairoli, Fabio Babini in the EB Motors number 80 Porsche, and rounding out the field in this 8-car qualifying session, just 8 minutes to go now, 83 is Kessel Racing car. Michel Gatting was a star at Paul Ricard. Let's see what she can produce here. Straight back into the pits, by the way, from Matteo Cairoli.
A massive 2.7 tenths of a second separated the Porsche number 77 from the 51 Ferrari at Ricard. You may remember Matteo Cairoli putting in a lap so late in the day and managed to squeeze ahead. So judging by the qualifying earlier on today for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, I think this could be very, very close indeed. Cairoli going for a late set with Michelin tyres, we're hearing, and the 77 car is the only one so far not to take to the track.
Absolutely. One thing we didn't hear, by the way, at the end of that Paul Ricard race, if you're following this season, it's good to catch up with some of this detail. We did see Matteo Cairoli taking chunks out of Michel Gatting's lead to second position in that race. What we didn't know was Michel was nursing a slow puncture for the last 3 laps at the very least. So did a fine job to bring it home with a healthy gap to Matteo Cairoli, who is no one's idea of a pushover if you're in a battle for a position. This is the 56 Project One car, a team bringing an ELMS campaign to add to their FIWC effort with an identical car to this. This is the 3rd race of the year for this car. In round 2 of the LMS, you say? That's because this is the car, late replacement for the team's WC Porsche 911 RSR after a fire destroyed that car in practice at Sebring. But this car, the Project One effort here, a purely Project One effort, whereas the WC effort is a joint venture with Park Place Motorsport for the United States.
Last year's pole position time here at Monza was set by a Porsche and a 1:47.4, so we're looking for that sort of marker of time, and it's already gone. 1:47.2. Perhaps shouldn't be too surprised about that, but Jörg Bergmeister, purely as a banker lap, is 0.2 of a second quicker there in the number 56 Porsche. Ebi Motors, good start for Fabio Babini, who was on that squad actually that took pole last year. It's Babini, Pera and Raymond Narak in the 80 car 12 months ago.
Last year, wasn't it?
It was Pera, I think, who did the time.
It was, who I think has switched over now to the Proton competition team. It's still Jörg Bergmeister at the top. Alessandro Pierguidi goes second now, 0.372 back from Bergmeister's first time. Then it's Matt Griffin, just a couple of tenths back from that. Babini, Piccini, Siegel and Michel Gatting have gone through. Matteo Cairoli on his outlet with those new tyres just aboard the number 77 car. Here he comes.
So 0.3 of a second, plenty of room therefore for improvement. Alessandro Pierguidi just as a first effort, and Matt Griffin, one of the later cars to cross the line, now goes into 3rd position. Remember, Matt Griffin pushed the track limits constantly at Paul Ricard, and I said at the time I thought he had a lap in him where he could keep it neat and tidy. Actually, that never came in the south of France, and had to make do with a start way at the back of the order. Let's see whether he can be neater and tidier this time around, but there are again several places on this particular circuit where track limits are being closely observed.
And not just closely observed but acted upon. We've already had the 66, 83 and 80 car get laps deleted, and then lap 2 the 83 car gets the second lap deleted. So far only 4 cars have actually scored a flying lap. Matteo Cairoli though on his first flying lap after that early pit stop, purple in the first sector. It's Bergmeister from Andrea Piccini. 0.198 of a second is the gap. Babini edges Pierre Guidi back into fourth for the moment. 0.361 back to 0.372. Again, tiny gaps here. Bergmeister's pitted the car.
He has. Does he think that that's enough or as much as he can do? Maybe Team Project One are going to give Jorg another set of Michelin tyres tyres are being offered to the 56 car, so I'm sure we'll get a second run. Can't hang around too long though. 1 minute 47 for a quick lap, only 3:47 left on the clock.
Matteo Caroli, I think, is going to smash that lap time. He's gone purple in both the first two sectors. I think he's well over half a second up. I think this is going to be into the 146s if he's kept that momentum up. Crosses the line any moment now. 147.270 is beaten by a 146, but he immediately loses the lap time to track limits.
Oh no, disaster. And I thought he was flashing the lights there, but that just shows how bumpy it is on the approach to the first chicane, by the way, on the very long straight out of the Parabolica. So did all the hard work, but then has the time at the very last minute stripped away. Still, the gap is 0.2 of a second then from Bergmeister to Andrea Piccini for Kessel Racing. That's the best placed Ferrari. And at the moment, we have one of each brand represented on that front row. Exactly the same on row 2. Fabio Babini's Porsche. Mildly faster than Alessandro Pierre Guidi, but we're talking 1/100th of a second between 80 and 51.
So a combination of cars changing tyres and lap times lost means that we've still only seen 5 flying laps actually laid down. So 5 of the 8 cars so far have registered a time. Jeff Siegel is on his outlap for JMW, he hasn't. Michelle Gatting now does in the 83 car. She now sits 6 of the 8, and Matteo Caroli is still looking to get a lap time in.
Andrea Piccini comes down pit road in the number 60 car. Now, is he going to have enough time to go back out again if they do bolt new tyres onto that Piccini car? We'll wait and see. Bergmeister for Project One, number 56, is back out onto the track, also weaving from left to right the JMW Motorsport entry. That's Jeff Siegel. And then the 77 of Matteo Cairoli, briefly at the top of the times, back to 8th fastest now. Here comes Cairoli through the Parabolica. This is another fast lap then from the Italian. Surely it's going to be improvement. How good to pole? Is there any message on the bottom of the screen is the next thing we need to check for about deletion.
No, there isn't, and he did that without improving in sectors 1 and 2. It was an ultimately fastest sector in sector 3. He goes through now. I think he's got a car ahead of him though on this lap. Yep. It's a 146.5, 3/4 of a second up. That is a massive margin. Huge. For everybody else to actually try to cover off. But Jorg Bergmeister is going to do what he can. He's come through sector 1 fastest of all. This is on for a battle for pole. Can Jorg Bergmeister get a clear lap and get this to be a Porsche 1-2 at the temple of speed here in Italy?
Well, it's brand new tyres for the German driver in number 56, so he's got the best tyres at his disposal here, and let's see what they can do. Remember, all the GTEs are on Dunlop tyres, and as the 55 car bounces its way out of the second of the chicanes, that's Matt Griffin. He has had times deleted, so far 6th fastest for Spirited Race.
The Michel Gatting piloted 83 car loses the lap, but it's on. It would have been an improvement. Meantime, 2 battling Porsches at the top of the Tumblingen scoring screen. This will be, I think, it could be quite tight here. Are they going to get through for another lap? I don't think so, but it's going to be Matteo Caroli at the moment extending his advantage. He's gone purple in both the first 2 sectors. Bergmeister held that for the first sector just briefly, but Cairoli is absolutely got the hammer down, but he's got a car ahead of him on track. Is that going to spoil the run?
Bergmeister improves, but he can't get to provisional pole. It's a 146.7. Crucially, though, for the man from Leverkusen, he will get another lap, whereas the 2 cars that cross the line now, Jeff Siegel in JMW Motorsport Ferrari and the Dempsey Proton Racing Cairoli car, crosses the line and improves again. So all of a sudden, Bergmeister squeezes the gap, but it's extended again by Cairoli, who gets the checkered flag on that lap, up to 0.4 of a second now, Graham.
Matt Griffin, though, comes through 3rd quickest, now 4th. Pierre Guidi goes 3rd. So it's 0.422, Cairoli to Bergmeister, 0.542 back to Pierre Guidi, 1.044 seconds back to Matt Griffin. but Pierre Guidi's lost that lap time.
And strangely, I thought Andrea Piccini then was being sent out of the pits. There was an outlap icon appearing next to his car briefly, but it's turned to a checkered flag. We've got 3 cars still out on track. Michel Gatting for Kessel, Fabio Babini for Ebi Motors. Here he is now arriving at the Parabolica, and the Jörg Bergmeister Porsche, which is a bit further back. The Ferrari and the Porsche 83 and 80 will cross the line now. In fact, Michel Gatting to the pit lane. And Ebi Motors does not improve, so Babini will stay in 5th position. All eyes now to the 56 Porsche, which is on the back straight, but Graham reckons that's not a competitive lap.
It's a quick lap, but it's not going to trouble pole position without the aid of a quantum drive in the final sector.
And Jörg is completely on his own as well, so nobody to utilise a tow from. 56 car due across the line. It should be a front row start for Team Project One, and Jörg Bergmeister in the 56 car, and in fact he's going to go straight to the pit lane, I reckon, because he hasn't appeared yet over the line. So that is it. Matteo Cairoli again on pole position, just as he did at Ricard, only this one was slightly more secure earlier in the session.
Absolutely, Matteo Cairoli late to the party after taking that change of tyres.
Yeah.
But after that, pretty stellar stuff. Lost a lap, got his head down, 2 very quick laps banged in and almost half a second to the good over Jörg Bergmeister. Matt Griffin and Andrea Piccini will make it an all-Ferrari second row, so Ferrari humbled on home ground here by the Porsches. And Babini and Pierre Guidi mix it up on row 3 and row 4 for the GTs. Jeff Siegel and Michel Gatting. And Michelle lost her quickest time to track limits, as did 1 or 2 of those runners, including Alessandro Pierre Guidi, although we didn't see the lap chart, that judgment come up on the screens. We did see the car move up to 3rd position and then back down again.
Yes, yeah, good point. Jörg Bergmeister stepping away from the Project One Porsche now, high-fiving one of the members of his team. Couldn't get any closer to Matteo Cairoli than 4/10 of a second. And Matteo Cairoli from Como in Italy, just about 30 kilometres from home then, here at Monza. A chance to catch up with the team and with Christian Reed now joining Louise Beckett in the garage.
I am with Christian Reed, but he's also very keenly watching his son in a karting competition at the moment as well. But he did keep an eye on qualifying, and Matteo put in another great performance.
Yeah, it was a great lap for Matteo, and always in qualifying he's pushing quite hard, and this was a fantastic lap, and yeah, very, very good job.
Okay, looking forward to the race tomorrow?
Yeah, sure, always looking forward to the race, and starting from P1 is always great pleasure, so we will see.
How's your son doing?
It's qualifying now. I think he's in top 10 as well, so it should be okay.
Oh, good all round for the family. Thanks.
Thank you.
And good all round at that team as well, with Christian Reed, the bronze driver, Ricardo Pera taking pole position here last year, the silver, and no question about Matteo Cairoli's pace. That's going to be a strong lineup come the race start tomorrow, and indeed the race finish.
It does look quick round here, doesn't it? The screaming Porsche 911 RSR. It may be a very German car, but it's got a lot of fans here in Italy, simply for the soundtrack. And that's a happy Matteo.
Certainly, yeah. 4/10 of a second is a statement to everybody else on the GTE grid, and can they continue that dominance into the race? Very tricky to do from single lap speed to be consistent throughout the 4 hours. We'll wait and see. That's how they'll line up then for tomorrow's event. It's a midday start local time, and the Dempsey Proton Racing Porsche will start from the front row alongside Team Project One. Spirit of Race Ferrari from the second row alongside another 488 from Kessel. Ebi Motors, Fabian Babini's time puts him 5th ahead of Alessandro Pierre Guidi. And with Matteo Cairoli walking down the pit lane, this is a fine opportunity to catch up with him.
A very happy Matteo Cairoli. Well done.
Thank you very much. I'm over the moon right now. Monza is my home track. The first lap was deleted, so I was a bit under pressure in the car, but then I reset everything. So I had a 2 clear lap, so the car was mega to drive. Thanks to these boys here that are doing a massive job all the time. I'm so proud to be part of the team. And yeah, I mean, tomorrow we will finish the job, I'm sure.
Great, we look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
As I say, local boy from Como, just 30 k's as the crow flies north of here. Beautiful part of northern Italy. I'm sure he knows this place like the back of his hand, and he's just proved it.
And a joyful drive, not just here, but he's always a joyful presence in the pits and the paddock, Matteo Caroli. But, well, you put pole position together like that at your home race, it's going to put even further smile on your face, isn't it? And great to see and hear that with Louise.
Right then, that's GTE's locked into position towards the rear of the grid. 8 cars then know where they'll be starting the 4 hours of Monza tomorrow. Next up, 14 LMP3s, and we'll do a little bit of a count up because we have had some incident-packed free practice sessions, which has sadly meant the demise of 1 or 2 cars. But will it be the full complement of LMP3s?
I think everybody's going to make it out for this one. We've had a bit of bodywork damage, but I think everybody's going to make it out for this one. And indeed, I'm hearing for the LMP2s as well.
Wow.
So after an instant, we'll talk about, I'm sure when we see those P2 cars, there's been some great work in the pits from the teams, and I think we're going to see everybody out to play.
Well, all these cars are on Michelin tyres, the same control Michelin tyre. They are powered by the same spec of Nissan 5-litre engine as well. If you were around for our Michelin Le Mans Cup qualifying coverage earlier on, it's the same engine that powers those LMP3s, and a mixture again of Ligier JSP3s and Norma M30s. The Norma looks strong down the very long straights here at Monza. However, we have a Ligier, amazingly enough, on pole position for the Michelin Le Mans Cup race later today. Why can't it happen in this session?
Well, it could. It might just. It's certainly not been the way that the cookie has crumbled so far this week, but it just could. A well-driven Ligier is a fabulous thing, and these 14 cars, I think you're going to find some tight gaps again. This is what has been seen over the last couple of seasons in not just the Michelin Le Mans Cup, but also the European Le Mans Series. Is the gaps in qualifying are super tight, and we've got some high quality guys ready to come out in these cars as well.
Well, one car to certainly look out for is the number 17 Ultimate crew. Mathieu Lehay, Jean-Baptiste Lehay, François Heriot into their 4th season of European Le Mans Series with their familiar red and white livery. Racing a Norma these days, finally taking victory a month ago at Paul Ricard. That's a real family team. Mathieu's wife is the engineer. Jean-Baptiste and Mathieu brothers. François Heriot, the bronze graded driver in the trio. But much deserved victory after all of their loyalty to this championship.
Absolutely, and always produce a fabulously prepared car. It looks great on track. They've so often had a potentially really good result just snatched away from them by the fickle fingers of fate.
Yes.
But this time came home the winners, and I think an awful lot of people in this paddock were very happy to see that. Of course, they'd be happier still if it was them this weekend.
True enough. The car that's currently 3rd in the championship after a 3rd place finish, funnily enough, at Paul Ricard, Martin Hipper and Nigel Moore's Inter Europol competition car. And there are now 2 of these machines in the LMP entry, so 13 and 14, both Ligiers.
Nigel Moore it is that will be taking that car out. It was Nigel with a fantastic run back through the field at one point at Paul Ricard. They looked absolutely nowhere, but then he engaged more drive and away he went.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that cockpit, I think he actually had scalded a cat, because it was remarkable in the latter stages of that race just how quickly he was making progress. It'll be another 10 minutes, of course, for these 14. There's not going to be much wriggle room here. You've got to set that time pretty darn quick.
A very strong lineup this season. Damiano Fioravanti, Gustas Grimbergus and Lorenzo Bontempelli at Oregon team. A paint scheme that is very easy to spot around the track, but this is a strong year for the 10 crew and on course certainly for a race win this year, and maybe a bit more.
Absolutely, and good team spirit there at Oregon this season. We're just under 5 seconds from the green light.
10 more minutes of qualifying gets going now, and there are a few more cars in the queue than just before. There's a little bit of a gap back to the number 6, which is late to fire into life. It's done so now, though. That's the 360 racing machine of Ross Kaiser.
Yep, one of 2 this year, of course, for 360 racing. They double up to a 2-car team.
Yep. Terence Woodward initially shown on the screen, but Ross for qualifying duty, sharing with Terence Woodward and James Dayson this season.
So of the cars currently out, Christian England goes out in the number 3 United Autosports car. Ross Kaiser, we just said, the 6 360 racing car, James Littlejohn will be in the number 8 Nielsen racing car. David Drew for Real Team, the number 9. It is Christian Olsen in the 15 RLR M Sport car. Mathieu Lehay goes out in the Championship leading Ultimate, number 17. Lucas Legeret in the M Racing YMR 19 Norma.
Big squirm from the rear of Nigel Moore's into Europol competition. Ligier then, as he applied the throttle, I think that was deliberate to try and build the temperature into the rear Michelin tyres as quickly as possible. And again, no real time to waste here. The first section and first bit of the 10 minutes will disappear rapidly, purely with an outlet. And the last thing we want is a stoppage of any kind in this session, because it really does interrupt things. We had one a little bit earlier on in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, qualifying for the P3s. Also on the move, the number 7 Nielsen racing car, shown as Tony Wells at the moment.
Colin Noble, and Colin's been one of the standouts in the running so far this week. Very rapid indeed in wet conditions early this week, and right in the mix even in the dry too, rapidly getting his head around this new Norma package for the number 7 Nielsen Racing squad. Wayne Boyd, by the way, is out in the number 2 United Autosports car. That's another car we expect to be in the mix.
Just waiting for 2 more that are parked in the pit lane right now. The other 360 racing entry, number 5, and the Euro International car that led much of the Ricard race. Mikkel Jensen, I'm sure, will be installed into the number 11 Euro International car, which is USA flagged.
Where we go with the first flying laps. That's Brains Trust at United Autosports.
Yeah. Big grins behind the helmets, though. Loving their weekend so far. And, well, let's see how they get on. I realise they're needing a little more pace this weekend at Monza, but if it's wet at all tomorrow, though the forecast looks pretty good right now, and that could certainly spice things up. Already just 7 minutes to go. The Ultimate car over the line, and it is pursued by Nigel Moore in the number 13 machine. Late braking from almost 300 Ks, I think, in the maybe a little bit less than that in the LMP3. Well over that in an LMP2. And neat and tidy stuff on the entry to the chicane. A grin and thumbs up from Gustas Grimbergus at Oregon. Watching his teammate do the business in number 10. It's Fioravanti who's been put into the car to do qualifying, the Italian.
Someone else who impressed first time out for the team at Paul Ricard, Damiano Fioravanti. I'll get that right by the time we finish this season.
All right, we've got the whole year, no problem. Christian Olsen in the number 15 RLR M Sport car, reaching the Parabolica, and the Real Team Racing entry, David Drew, again in the top 2 for the first half of the Ricard race. So this Norma could be strong as well come qualifying. Drew sets the marker post for everybody else. It's a 1:45.8 then, and right over the line behind is James Littlejohn, 0.9 of a second slower into Europol competition, number 14 over the line as well. It's a Norma fastest.
That's right. Sam Jeong, by the way, in the number 14, new driver to enter Europol. Long time alongside Lucas Legeret goes second, 6/10 back from David Drew. So it's Drew from Legeret, Norma, then a line of Ligiers, but still 3 Normas to offer a time here.
Yeah, going back to your point about Sam de Jong, actually replacing Dino Lenardi, isn't it?
Yeah, for the rest of the season. Mathieu Lehay goes second, just a 10th back. Nigel Moore goes up to third, is quickest of the Ligiers, just ahead of Wayne Boyd. So 0.28 of a second separates the top 3, but not for long, because through comes the Oregon team. Damiano Fioravanti, got it right that time. 1:45.312, half a second up for the number 10 team.
And that's 3 Normas now at the sharp end of the field. Half a second between the top 2, a further 0.1 of a second back to Mathieu Lehay's time. But there's more to come, be assured of that. Wayne Boyd is 4th fastest, James Littlejohn goes 5th quickest for the Nielsen crew, and Noble in the other Nielsen car to 2nd fastest, to be just 0.2 of a second slower than Fioravanti's time. Colin Noble, in fact, now to the top. Now, what's happened there?
That's because the other car was docked a lap, so Colin Noble it is with a 1:45.525.
Incredible,
He
right?
keeps his lap. The other car
Damiano Fioravanti has had a time deleted, and he was there for a little while, but he's dropped to 11th position now. Obviously that's been watched again, perhaps on some CCTV footage. Relatively late decision. David Drew back to the sharp end again though, by 0.3 of a second. That's the Real Team Racing car, number 9.
This is going to be very close indeed when we get to the end of this session in just over 4 minutes time. What can the M Racing car? Lucas Leggeret goes to the top. It's 0.047 of a second. 45.124 plays 45.171 now. Leggeret from David Drew, then Colin Noble, then Mathieu Lehay. All 4 of them in the Normas. Wayne Boyd is now the lead Ligier runner.
And Mathieu Lehay is now fastest because he's just gone over the line to be 0.1 of a second past or faster than Luca Leggeret's time. So ultimate fastest from M Racing, then Real Team Racing, David Drew. The first of the Nielsen cars is now 4th as Fioravanti rights the wrong of that deleted lap, and he's found a 1:44.7. As long as that stays legal, that's a gap of 1/4 of a second now and makes it 5 Normas at the sharp end.
But everybody behind him is going quicker. Lucas Leggeret is going quicker. David Drew is going quicker. It's an improved time, but no improvement in position for now 5th place Colin Noble. He topped the times, 60 seconds ago?
Yes.
Lucas Leggeret goes through sector 1, the fastest of anybody. Colin Noble pops up in second. It's 0.088 of a second. The gap, it's 1:44.7. Plays 1:44.8.
Here come the next gaggle, led by Christian Olsen. 2 of them have pitted. John Corbett actually hasn't joined the session yet. Mikkel Jensen not joined the session yet. So I don't reckon they're going to actually have time to get out now. And we're hearing that quite a bit of work's being done on those cars. So for whatever reason, the 5 and the 11 will not be taking active part in this session. Sam de Jonge over the line to move up a position for Inter-Europol competition. He goes 8th fastest, but Fioravanti 88 thousandths of a second now, the gap between him and Colin Noble.
Leggeret goes to the top. It's 0.193 of a second now, the gap. Leggeret to Fioravanti. But Fioravanti's going quickly, so is Colin Noble, so is Mathieu Lehay,
Here comes Lehay
so
now.
is David Drew.
Over the line, Lehay to 2nd fastest. And who's next due across the line? It'll be Nigel Moore, who needs to improve and does so to 6th fastest. He was down in about 11th prior to that lap. Wayne Boyd due across the line. He improves now to 6th position from 7th. And Fioravanti due to the top by 34 thousandths of a second. This is phenomenal stuff. Leggeret beats it instantly, and that's almost 0.2 of a second. That's way more than Fioravanti had briefly, and now we've had time for Mathieu Lehay to slot between the 2 of them. So M Racing hang on to it with 90 seconds to go from Ultimate, the race winners at Paul Ricard, and then the Italian squad Oregon team.
Noble had gone up to 4th. I think he's going to improve here again. He goes 2nd. It's 0.102 of a second now. Tiny margins, and all these quick men with 1 more go at this.
Sadly for Ligier, they're looking at half a second's gap between the slowest Norma and the fastest of the JSP3s. They're in 2 solid banks here. All the Normas looking at the top 5 positions as 3 cars are due across the line any minute. James Littlejohn is one of them to go 8th fastest. Interesting little exchange between Christian Olsen and James Littlejohn throughout this session. They will squeeze 1 more lap out of this.
And both those men have been improving throughout the session. Leggeret gone purple in sectors 1 and 2, but Noble has bettered that first sector time. This is going down to the wire. But between which of the top 5 or 6 cars?
Luca Leggeret improves again. Gap up to half a second now for the young Swiss driver for M Racing.
1:44.102. Absolutely right, Johnny Palmer. 0.550 of a second. But Noble is quicker on this lap so far. What is his second sector time going to be looking like?
Colin Noble it's due over the line, probably the last of this little bunch of cars. So
it's going to be very tight between those 2. He doesn't beat the second sector time, but he's coming through down now towards Parabolica to complete his lap. This will be his final flying lap. Leggeret has 1 more go at it and has gone purple in the first sector.
And well done to Wayne Boyd. He's finally broken into that top 5, so ahead of at least, just 1 Norma. Leggeret remaining top, but Colin Noble due across the line in a moment. There was a lap deleted.
That was from Lehay, I think.
Okay, Colin Noble stays second, although does improve to 1:44.2.
No, he goes top.
Oh, there's a time deleted for Luca Leggere. So he's got to go top, is he, by virtue of that. Now, needs to make sure that his lap is kosher. However, Luca Leggere had a lap deleted, and that's going to potentially take pole away.
But Luca Leggere is going through with 2 purple sectors right now, so he could have lost a lap and get one back here.
Incredible.
Yeah, this is amazing stuff. 0.3 of a second up. Everybody behind though is improving. This is not done yet.
David Drew back ahead of Wayne Boyd to take 5th position in the inside of row 3. So we're back to 5 Normas being the quickest cars. Wayne Boyd will be able to complete this lap. He's on a 1:45.0 already. Luca Leggere to the top again by 0.2 of a second. Now, all questions about whether that's track limits or not, but we'll have to wait and see. M Racing think they've bagged it, but there's a few more cars to come across the line.
And it's still very tight indeed. Mathieu Lehaye currently 7/10 off. He halves that gap, stays 3rd at the checkered flag. What about Damiano Fioravanti? He's pretty quick. I don't think he's very close indeed to this kind of pace. What can he do right at the death of this session?
Wayne Boyd over the line, no improvement on position. Fioravanti 4th at the moment to 3rd. So switches from the outside to the inside of row 2, and it's a 1:44.377 for the silver-rated Italian driver. But how late do you want to leave it in an LMP3 session, and how many different names did we have at the top of the screen? At least all 5 Normas, I think, at any one point. Certainly Drew was there. Lehaye had provisional pole. Fioravanti, Noble and Leggere. Amazing
absolutely
stuff.
all 5 of those cars at some point led the lead in that lead in that session.
Yeah, and Wayne Boyd briefly ahead of the slowest of the Normas, but in the end it's 5 Normas from the rest of the Ligiers, I'm afraid to say, and the gap is actually 0.2 of a second. It was half a second midpoint in the session. The fastest Ligier, car number 2 from United Autosports, Wayne Boyd, faster than Christian Olsen for RLR M Sport to start from 7th, and then the 2 into Europol competition machines 8th and 9th.
Yeah, what does this mean, apart from obviously the grid order for the race tomorrow? These are the guys who are battling away to be the next generation of LMP2 drivers. Make no mistake at all about that. We saw last year with Joop van Uitert and others graduating to the LMP2 ranks in the LMS and beyond. And that's what this is about. This is about battling away to try to get that next step in a career.
Damiano Fioravanti a little earlier on, really on the ragged edge, slowing for the first chicane. Incredibly bumpy there on the approach. Did just about get through the chicane there, braking as late as he dared. And Colin Noble then finishing in 2nd position, just ahead of Fioravanti, but the times were tight, a 1/10 of a second. Luca Leggere, despite having his penultimate lap deleted, which was pole at the time, managed to put that out of his mind. I bet the team didn't even tell him. And he pushed again for the final lap, and it was good enough. 2/10 good enough, which is a yawning gap considering how close we've been all day in both race series.
Cracking stuff. Another great qualifying session for the LMP3s.
So, M Racing, we will be able to hear from that crew and indeed the team manager down with Louise Beckett. Car 19, very, very happy with their performance.
Nastasia Ayu is the team manager for M Racing, and that was a great performance. You must all be, well, I can see that everyone's happy.
Yeah, we are really happy because it was a hard start of the weekend. We had a crash in test, so we had to rebuild the car, and now we are on top, so we are really happy.
And what can you expect for the race?
We can expect a lot, I think. Starting from P1 is always easier.
Well, good. We look forward to it. Thanks very much.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
M Racing take a pole position for this year. Nastasia Ayu chatting to Louise Beckett, and don't forget Jan Erlaché and Laurent Millara, who race in that number 19 crew. In fact, we don't have Erlaché this weekend, so it's a 2-driver lineup, Luca Leggere and Laurent Millara being the silver and the bronzes respectively.
Is he on touring car
I wondered
duty?
that. I'll have to
possibly
check.
with Ivan as well, so that might well be why we've got no Ivan Muller. I've not seen this weekend. That is the final LMP3 classification, Johnny Palmer.
0.2 of a second between the M Racing effort, 1:44.0, and Nielsen Racing, Colin Noble. Oregon team 3rd on the grid, ahead of the Paul Ricard winners Ultimate. 11th position, just outside of the sharp end positions, then United Autosports. And strangely, we didn't see one of the 360 racing cars, number 5, nor the Euro International car that performed so well a month ago in the south of France. So there were chassis difficulties in Ricard for Euro International. I'm not sure whether the problems are connected for this weekend or whether...
Same car as they
had. Is it the same, exactly the same chassis number? Right. But with components off partway through qualifying, clearly their preparation has not gone well, or they've discovered an issue very late in the day, tried to rectify it during the session perhaps, and realised they were running out of time. But they've some work to do ahead of tomorrow's race.
Well, let's wait and see. We'll bring any news on both those cars to you ahead of the race tomorrow. We move, Johnny Palmer, to a spectacular 19-car field of LMP2 cars. Yes, 19 cars in the LMP2 field, with the guest appearance here before they graduate to the FIWC of the Cetelar Racing Valorbia Corsa team. And my understanding is this will be the last time we see the Cetelar Racing car in the hands of the Valorbia Corsa team in the European Le Mans Series, due to shift for their WC season under the auspices of AF Corsa. Out comes the 28 Edex Sport car. And there are so many cars in this 19-car field, Johnny, that have a real ability to get into the fight for pole.
Yes, yeah, and it's really tricky to even pick out a top 5 that is likely to emerge as a reality, because they are so closely fought and closely bunched. By the way, James Allen, Henrik Hedman, Ben Hanley taking victory at Paul Ricard last month. No Ben Hanley this weekend, for he is on IndyCar duty ahead of a huge race at the end of the month for him, the Indy 500 with Dragon Speed. So in the number 21 car, it'll be Renger van der Zande instead, the super sub, and no question about the Dutchman's pace. And the car that was being wheeled out onto the grid apron, or the pit lane apron, a moment or two ago, Memo Rojas, Paul-Luc Chatin, Paul Lafargue's car, number 28, which finished second at Paul Ricard.
And a brief look there at the two Algarve Pro Racing cars. I'm sure you'd want to join me, Johnny Palmer. I'm sure he's listening and watching. Mark Patterson, get well soon.
Absolutely,
Mark. This
yes.
grid needs a person of your class and indeed age back after a nasty testing accident. I'm sure you're pretty uncomfortable right now, Mark, but we're missing you greatly. We'd love to see you back as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Here with the family of the European Le Mans Series.
Yeah, missing you already, and I know it's going to be probably a number of months out for you, but ELMS will be ready and waiting to receive you whenever that may be. 45 is the Carlin Motorsport, the Carlin entry. First ever foray into sports car racing, despite Carlin's steeped history in single-seater racing. Trevor Carlin's team, of course, this is the first season of endurance racing and prototype racing they've done with the only Dallara on the grid. There's a tweak of driver lineup there this weekend.
There is.
Because we're going back to what was due to be the sort of static driver.
Yeah. So Harry Tinknell will be in for Olivier Pla, filled in for Harry whilst he was on IMSA racing duty last weekend, but it's Ben Barnicoat aboard the car. Just had a shot of Anders Fjordbach aboard the high-class racing team car. It was the RLRM Sports effort. This is the cool racing car. That's Nico Lapierre on qualifying duty aboard their gorgeous-looking new Oreca 07. Swiss flag proudly on the wing end plates.
Yeah, again, that car well in the hunt for a race victory this year, where Cool Racing have just slowly worked their way into the prototype side of things through LMP3s and then into 2s. A big name in GT3 racing through the 24H series and other competitions as well. Peering into the cockpit now, though, of the Dragon Speed car, who are the championship leaders.
And that's Renger van der Zande ready to go. They stay with the bare carbon, not so forward.
Tweak on last year's livery, isn't it? With still the blue bands and the white stars upon them on the dorsal fin and up the nose, but black predominantly the colour instead of white from last year. And the 26 car, which has now taken 2 pole positions this calendar year, the Aurus, very early on in its existence, the Aurus 01. It is an Oreca 07 under the skin, but pole position at Ricard last month and a pole at Spa last weekend.
Yep, Norman Nato aboard that car with Jean-Luc Verne on Formula E duty. elsewhere. Out they come, and delighted to see in the first gaggle out there the green and yellow colours of Inter Europol. What a great job the team have done after a substantial smash for the 34. Leo Roussel in a local hospital just having some tests. I'm sure again you're listening in, Leo. Get back to us as quick as you can.
G-Drive, I think, through choice, are going to be sending the car out a little bit later than the rest of them, maybe to allow the bulk of the field to leave the pit lane, and they've got a bit of clear air perhaps to play with. I seem to remember the 26 car was one of the later cars to join the session in qualifying at Ricard as well, so maybe that's just the way they're deciding to play it. Only 10 minutes though, remember, not really a moment to lose. You can afford to sit out the first couple of minutes, and then you really do need to dive out of the pit lane.
They're going to be getting ready to go very soon. Amongst the other drivers, the other cars, we've not caught up the drivers for you so far. Giorgio Sinigiotto will be out in the Ceslar Fallorpa Corsa 47 Dallara. Barney in aboard the Carlin car. It will be Arjun Maini in the RLR M Sport car. He's been fantastic in testing here this weekend. This week rather. Jonathan Hershey in the number 39 Graf Racing car. Danny Kloss is aboard the 34 Inter Europol. Alex Brundle in the 32 United Autosports. James French in the 31 Algar Pro. Nico Jama in the Duquesne Engineering number 30. EDEC Sports cars, the 27 Ligier in the hands of Eric Maris. Paul-Luc Chatin, look for him in the pole battle in the 28 Orica. Andrea Pizzitola goes in the 25 Algar Pro. And in the 23 and 24 Panis Bartes cars, Will Stevens and Konstantin Tereshchenko. Felipe Albuquerque is aboard the 22 United car.
For his first ELMS race of the year, after Paul Di Resta sat in for him alongside Phil Hansen at Paul Ricard. By the way, you may well know this already, but having mentioned success ballast in GTs, we probably should make the point there is no success ballast in LMP2 or LMP3. It's a big lock up there for Philippe Albuquerque in the 22 car, so has to go straight on at the second chicane. Thankfully, there is one of those sort of off-track routes that you can rejoin, similar to Les Combes at Spa-Francorchamps, and obviously loses a huge amount of time. Was on a quick lap. It's going to have to wait for the next time around.
Might just lose that on track limit, you think?
Yeah, you reckon?
I think so.
I don't think he'll mind somehow.
7 minutes remaining, and only 7 minutes remaining. Will that hurt the effort from United Autosports? Let's wait and see.
Duquesne Engineering into the Ascari chicane, so high-speed approach under the bridge, then you go left, right, left again, keep off the curbs as much as possible, but the curb on the exit is often punished by these cars. You have to make sure that you keep at least two wheels the correct side of the white line, and then into the Parabolica, the long lingering right-hander that completes this 3.6 mile lap, 5.7 kilometres. Over the line then will come Nicolas Jamat, so impressive again in round one, and goes to the top because he's the first car with a flying lap. Philippe Albuquerque lost on that lap 12 seconds because of the off-track moments at chicane 2.
It's a 1:36.4 is the mark. 1:36.2 though for Ben Barnicoat. Goes to the top in the Carlin car. Then Alex Brundle. So it's a Ligier from the Dallara at the moment. Then another Ligier. Brundle in the 32 car goes with 1:36.1, 1:36.2 for Barnicoat, 1:36.4 for Will Stevens. Those two Ligiers, first and third, by the way, battle of the tyre suppliers. To the top though, Paul-Luc Chatin with a 1:35, 9/10 up, 1:35.214 for EDEC Sport. 28, 32, 45 your top three.
Down towards the Retifilio chicane comes the 39 car rather. 28 on the caption, 39 is the car that's working its way now out of turns 1 and 2. And down now towards the Curva Grande, Jonathan Hershey. Jonathan Hershey caught up in a clumsy moment on the route into pit lane at Paul Ricard, and he was penalised for that, where there were two cars abreast basically across the blend line, which caused a spin for Damiano Fioravanti, sadly, in the Oregon LMP3 car at the time.
Jaco Lapierre to the top, 1:34.967. Quarter of a second up, the Cool Racing 37 car from the EDEC Sport car. Renger van der Zande goes fourth for Dragon Speed. Alex Brundle's on an absolute flyer here.
Yeah, look out for the 32 car as Jamat goes to third position. And Brundle is due across the line any moment, somewhere in the fourth sector now. And no doubt either on the approach to the Parabolica or coming out of that corner. Still yet to come home as Paul-Luc Chatin in the 28 car now goes to second fastest. Arjun Maini to third quickest for RLR M Sport. So the 43 car up to third position.
Trouble for the number 22 car. After that off-track moment, Felipe Albuquerque has not registered a time and has pitted the car. So let's wait and see what happens with that car. Nicolas Lapierre still leads away. Paul-Luc Chatin still second. Jonathan Hershey goes third for Graf in the 39 car. They're separated by half a second. Then we get Arjun Maini in the RLR car in fourth. Nicolas Jamin fifth. Those five separated by just under a second.
Sergio Campana over the line for BHK Motorsport as well, goes into 14th position. We've only 4 minutes to go as the Aurus heads through Seraglio corner, the Curva del Seraglio, and on towards Escari chicane.
And does so with the fastest first sector of the session so far. Is currently down in 16th position. I mean, just put in a not particularly encouraging banker. Norman Nato is going much quicker this time. Felipe Albuquerque out of the pits now with just 3.5 minutes left. He'll get at best 2 laps, may even be just the one. Here comes Norman Nato. What can he do? He's 16th at the moment.
And he will go how far up? Second fastest. Brilliant time, 1:35.2, and that is the best placed of the Dunlop shod cars as well.
And he goes second by 1,000th of a second from Paul-Luc Chatin. It's a 1:35.213, plays a 1:35.214. Both those cars quarter of a second back though from Nicolas Lapierre's time set in the brand new 37 Cool Racing Oreca.
So Arjun Maini across the line, no improvement for the driver from Bangalore. Staying in 5th position, Nicolas Jamin in 6th, and Andrea Pizzitola, who did improve on that last time through, goes into 7th place for the 25 Algarve Pro Racing outfit. So plenty of cars coming down pit lane. Konstantin Tereshenko the latest to do so. So both Panes Bartis Competition cars in pit lane, the other one being Will Stevens. Right then, 2 minutes 20 seconds to go. Anyone crossing the line now will be fine for 2 more laps.
That would include Felipe Albuquerque. He goes through to now start a flying lap.
Yeah.
After what's been a somewhat sporadic run here. Andrea Pizzitola 6th quickest, within a second of the lead cars. No one ahead of him improving at the moment though, Johnny Palmer. 2 minutes to go. Another 15 seconds, 10 seconds now. And there'll be one more lap for everybody. Renger van der Zande, though, will get another one after this one. He improves his time and position, goes 5th for Dragon Speed.
Norman Nato about to cross the line. Now, no blue times on this lap so far, so no improvements. And indeed, it's a 1:37.4, which is a long way off his best.
But Nato will get this plus 1 lap if this is a quicken.
Yeah. And now there's only 90 seconds to go, so anybody crossing the line now will get the next lap, and that's it. How quickly 10 minutes drains through the timer, and overcast again, certainly at Curva Grande.
Yeah.
I think that's possibly affecting the atmospherics and how the air runs over these very aero-dependent cars. So down towards the second chicane then.
Nato goes purple in sector 1.
He's up through the first sector, is Norman Nato. Can he extend that through the rest of the lap? It's all about whether there are cars ahead of him.
Big twitch to the corner, runs a little wide, it keeps it on the island.
Crucially for Norman, there is nobody ahead now, heading towards Seraglio and the Ascari chicane. Well, one car, but I think the Dragon Speed machine is far enough in front, frankly. And bearing in mind it's Renger van der Zande doing the driving for Dragon Speed, so I don't think it's going to be a distraction, despite Norman Nato now flashing the lights.
Albuquerque does set a time into the top 10 for number 22, but just 9th position at the moment. He gets one more crack at this. Barnicoat, 6th in the Dallara.
Big off for the Duquesne car, out of the Ascari chicane, into the gravel track. That happened in front of the G-Drive car, though, so even if we get a stoppage in the session, it might be that the Aurus, red flag comes out now. I was about to say maybe the Aurus might get across the line before the session is stopped, but it is stopped with 15 seconds on the clock. And will we know the time? Well, we can probably add it up.
It shows it's a 1:35.213.
Oh, that's actually the time, right. 1:35.2 on the
into the safer
screen.
barrier, the Tech Pro barrier rather, for the Duquesne car. That was a quick off, wasn't it?
I feared a much bigger impact than that. Obviously, we will check on the Duquesne driver, Nicolas Jamat, and just off in the background, losing grip from the rear, it looked like initially, and spearing off then to the right side of the exit of Ascari, and thankfully there are Tech Pro barriers there. They are somewhat dishevelled after the impact, but far, far better than hitting concrete or metal.
They've done their job.
Indeed.
But there will be damage to the front of the Orica.
And with 15 seconds on the clock, it's going to be called at that. So a little bit of an anticlimax, despite Norman Nato being onto something very good indeed. It is a gap of 0.246 of a second between Nicolas Lapierre for Cool Racing, the G-Drive Aurus, and then in third position, Paul-Luc Chatin for IDEC Sport. Beyond that, Jonathan Hershey for the Graf squad, number 39. And the third row will be Renger van der Zande and Ben Barnacote. So great performance from Ben and Delara to net a 6th place start.
Yep, Cool Racing, their first pole position in the European Le Mans Series. And if rumours are to be believed, they might be heading for the World Championship next year.
So stepping out, I'm pleased to say, under his own steam is Nicolas Jamat, and just taking a look now at the front of the car, radio unplugged, helmet and hands device still on though.
Hint of a limp there from Nico.
I think just because he's walking across the gravel trap actually, not sure. But I'm sure a rush to the medical centre just for the once over will be the protocol there, as Nicolas Lapierre performed so well, and the timing in the end proved perfect for Cool Racing. Looks very stable indeed. The Michelin-shod car out of the second chicane earlier on in the session. A 1:34.967 then, and a quarter of a second the margin in qualifying. It'll prove to be much closer come the race tomorrow. A midday start, remember, for the second round of the year in the European Le Mans Series.
Yeah, 2 of our new graduates to LMP2 in the top 6 in that session. And actually, Carlin car right up in the thick of it. Before
repair work to be
shuffle back.
Yes, indeed. That will be sorted prior to the next session. But with Cool Racing then taking a first pole of the year, and I think perhaps ever in the ELMS, let's get some reaction now down with the team.
Well, I think for Alessandro, the news is still sinking in, is it? P1.
Yeah, well, it looks like, and no, it's great. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic reward for all the work we have achieved all together. I think Nico made, as usual, an amazing job. We don't have to tell you how good it is, but I mean, I think the whole team is progressing. We're new in this championship, and having a pole position, the second race, I think it's just magic.
Well done, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great to hear from Alexandre Coigny. If you've flown EasyJet in the last few years, you might just have had Captain Coigny, because that used to be his day job.
For the Swiss, who is the bronze in that lineup, Antonin Borger, who has regularly raced with Coigny in the past, is the silver, and Nicolas Lapierre the platinum. As rain starts to come down in the pit lane, this track actually covers a relatively small footprint. Yes, it's 3.6 miles, but the distance from, for instance, the home straight to the back straight is very small indeed, just the width of the paddock pretty much. So I bet it's going to be raining close to there as well, and that doesn't bode well particularly for a Michelin Le Mans Cup race, which is due to start at 4 o'clock this afternoon, so 90 minutes away. Fairly damaged, that Duquesne Engineering car.
That's an overnight job, I think, for the boys and girls at Duquesne Engineering. Well, that's the order at the end of qualifying for the Forza Monza, Johnny Palmer.
Quarter of a second between Cool Racing and G-Drive Racing. IDEC Sport and Graf make it then 3 French squads. Cool Racing from Switzerland, 2 French squads on the second row. Dragon Speed, the Ricard winners, will start from 5th alongside new to the LMP2 category RLR M Sport. A great performance from Indian driver Arjun Maini to get that first few 6th place row start then. Algraf Pro Racing, the Andrea Pizzitola car, will start from 7th position, and Duquesne Engineering of course did not get to the end of the session, and it's probably going to be a late night for Gilles Duquesne's team. We hope not too bad. What an amazing afternoon then for qualifying. We'll put these cars to bed and bring them out tomorrow ahead of a midday start for the second round of the season for the ELMS. GT's very close indeed, and I think equalising the field, that success ballast system, LMP3 so tight for a session, and it'll be Cool Racing on pole for their first pole in the ELMS. From Graham Goodwin and Johnny Palmer, join us tomorrow.